Oil. From wellhead to vehicle, this is the flow of economic lifeblood. The pumping heart is the oil field of Northwest Saskatchewan. This is not light, easy flowing crude. Northwest Saskatchewan is heavy oil country. Thick, heavy viscosity material that requires work to process and transport. This is the pipeline for heavy oil. Trucks to deliver the raw production to upgraders and refineries, to transport sand and water to disposal facilities, all to keep the oil flowing. But substituting trucks for pipelines creates its own set of problems. Where pipelines stamp a single footprint on the environment, trucks create a continuous impact in sheer numbers, in ongoing safety and dust issues, and in quality of life terms for residents. Evidence of this impact is everywhere. The roads the trucks use are constantly in need of repair. In fact, 84% of the RM of Wilton budget is devoted to road repair, while the RM of Britannia dedicates 86% of its budget to repair, and other municipalities in the Northwest are in a similar situation. Infrastructure is only one part of the problem. Trucking oil and related products impacts safety for all members of all 20 involved municipalities. Urban areas are also affected. The same trucks that travel rural roads are often headquartered in our towns and villages. The towns also carry the substantial burden of expanding their infrastructure to accommodate a population that is growing more rapidly and far larger than they can possibly forecast. Yes, those new subdivisions eventually repay in tax load the initial investment, but that is a long-term return for immediate outlays that the towns and villages simply cannot afford. The amount of traffic is itself a safety concern, as is the fact that 15% of the trucks traveling from a well site operate above Saskatchewan primary weight. These trucks are traveling at speed and, with the additional weight, have expanded stopping distances, as well as inflicting additional road damage because of the weight. The damages are increasing dramatically as oil field equipment becomes substantially larger and heavier. Triples, trucks with 3 axles in front and at the rear, although requiring special permits to move in Saskatchewan, are becoming a more common sight each year. With concomitant stress to everyone's infrastructure, there is also the safety concern of severely reduced visibility on gravel roads because of dust. Every year, there are accidents related to drivers simply unable to see upcoming hazards because the dust renders those hazards invisible. Since it is economically impossible to hard service all roads, dust is and will be an ongoing problem, not just for traffic, but for agriculture. Dust from the roads reduces the effective use of chemicals in crops and reduces the viability of the crops in the fields. Dust also becomes an issue for residents of the area, where it acts as an irritant and health concern for people and livestock living near high-traffic roads frequented by the heavy oil tankers. Every year, municipalities devote large amounts of tax dollars to residential dust control. These problems are substantially attributable to oil field traffic. 98% of the truck traffic on these roads comes directly from oil field and associated industries. Only 2% of the traffic in the area is associated with agriculture. In addition to dust problems, the oil field creates a multitude of other quality of life issues. Both seismic and drilling activities have a documented impact on the local aquifers. Closed space drilling, up to 12 wells per quarter, intersect a large number of our underground streams. The resulting environmental impact on drinking water is proven and ongoing. The costs of water cleanup are enormous, where they are even possible. This becomes a long-term health hazard to our residents, as does the constant inhalation of airborne dust. Additionally, there are enforcement costs and frustrations involved with oil field traffic. Some municipalities have hired or are considering hiring municipal enforcement officers. Both the RCMP and the Department of Transport lack the resources to enforce speed limits and weights and measures in our municipalities due to the lack of funding and of manpower. To this point, we have demonstrated the costs associated with the heavy oil industry, but there are, of course, huge benefits, particularly to Saskatchewan as a whole. In this area alone, more than $300 million in royalties are returned to provincial coffers. Although all our municipalities can and do draw substantial tax dollars from the oil companies, the resources available do not match the demand. Our various municipalities can tax oilfield structures, but when an average of 85% of our annual budgets are devoted to road maintenance and repair, not including new construction, we simply cannot preserve the infrastructure necessary to sustain the existing oil industry, let alone provide what is necessary to enhance and expand the industry to match continuing demand. Since Saskatchewan is the main beneficiary of oil-related revenues, the province needs to increase its investment in that industry. If Saskatchewan reinvests just 5% of the royalties generated in the Northwest back into the Northwest, the returns are enormous. With stable, predictable funding and budgeting, local government can address present and future needs of the oil industry. As operations expand, complementary industries develop, and the tax base expands, fueling further growth, further diversification. In this area, oil drives growth, oil fuels growth, and we grow with oil.